uncontrollable situation. Although none of this is verified, the notion being handled behind closed doors quickly spread. The way viewers read everything is altered. Some perceive what appeared to be chaos. They start questioning whether silence is deliberate, words are being withheld to prevent, and whether every considered for danger rather than truth. Framing completely. They contend that this was not planned. That emotional breakdown is not so. What people are witnessing is only the result of a collision between personal suffering and public desire. The story as the days go by. S is muted by it. New videos offer fresh perspectives rather than fresh facts. Response to response. Views on opinions. People's current feelings about it take precedence over the initial moment. For some, Tamar becomes a symbol. For others, it serves as a warning. Mendeecees turns into a question mark encircled by conjecture. Funky starts to serve as a benchmark. On dot, nobody is in agreement. And there is still any of this. There is no visible medical validation. There are no visible legal documents. The conflicts cannot be resolved by a single conclusive statement. Instead, there is a growing perception that this issue has reached a point where fixing it is no longer easy. Explanations will have to contend with a story that has already been solidified by repetition, even if they come later. Once anything is framed emotionally, supporters start to recognize this. Since the internet doesn't need evidence to be persuaded that suffering, whether actual or imagined, serves as a basis for believing, the truth becomes secondary. Once established, that belief is difficult to change. By the time this stage is over, the narrative is no longer about Tamar's intentions or the actual events. It is now about repercussions. It's about how easily a moment may spiral out of control and how readily intentions are forgotten. Once feelings are expressed in public, the most worrisome aspect is not that people don't agree, but rather certain that this can be as the talk becomes more in-depth, complex issue starts to emerge. Whether Tamar misspoke or whether the internet overreacted in point of contention. It becomes about the speed at which moral judgments are formed from emotion and how before anyone has a chance to react, those judgments begin. Followed Tamar for years claim that her response wasn't unexpected. They cite her past openness regarding suffering, disloyalty, as well as weakness. They contend that when a person spends a significant public, the need to continually defend, explain, and clarify finally becomes intolerable. Others assert that her verbal outburst was motivated by fatigue rather than facts. Fatigue from rather than addressed. Others interpret this same situation in a very different way. They contend that careless implication is not justified by emotional transparency. Those statements that, even inadvertently, carry the burden of criminal implication require caution. Another wave of content is fueled by this conflict of interpretations. Videos that break down tone snippets and analyze body language threads, slow down to glean meaning from breathing and hesitation. Without a trial, the internet starts to function as a jury. As the purported accusations made against increasingly skewed. Some interpret what began as an accusation of force, while others interpret it as a metaphor concerning treachery. Each group is able to best suit their pre-existing ideas due to the lack of clarity. This is the point at which curiosity begins to give way to terror. Once dramatic, viewers are now concerned about actual repercussions, reputations, careers, and families. They, even if there is no proof, start wondering if someone can ever get beyond being connected to such connotations. They question whether public sympathy might serve as a verdict in a covert manner. Some voices try to slow down the story in response. They warn viewers that reports are based on rather than records been verified, and that commentary is not proof. However, these voices find it difficult to break through the pre-existing emotional momentum. Because Because the tale isn't progressing at this point. It is folding inward. Every quiet moment grows louder than words. Every delay leads to mistrust. Individuals start giving absence a purpose. When the words are doesn't blow up, there is no dramatic buildup, no music, and freezes. It's merely a sentence that hits the ground so forcefully that the surrounding air seems to evaporate. I do indeed have HIV. It's what admirers say about it. Not as a well-prepared confession, not as a declaration set to make headlines. But something came out at a time when feelings were already too intense to contain. Clips begin to circulate, reaction channels pause, and comment sections overflow in a matter of minutes. People just know that something has changed in what they just heard. Additionally, it seems irrevocable because another wave appears practically instantly after. People start claiming that this was not at all a medical admission, that nothing was being quietly confirmed by Tamar Braxton. She was responding, reacting to social media, blogs, and days of whispers, mercilessly dragging her name, body, past, and suffering through timelines. The same question is repeatedly posed by fans. Did she really mean it? Did she just lose her temper? Online sources said that Tamar had been forced into a corner. People were already discussing, making decisions, and categorizing her everywhere she looked. Funky DeNova was at the core of those discussions since he was the one who initially brought the purported relationship between Mendeecees and Tamar. At that point, the story takes a more sinister turn. The response suddenly intensifies into something more explosive. He's so upset and enraged that he doesn't only react to the rumors. She presses herself against them. She claims that everyone is already criticizing her because she's sick of defending herself, not because it's true. A charge that shocks everyone on the internet. She claims that Mendeecees ruined her life, claiming she feels that he deserves everything he is currently suffering, including arrest talk, legal issues, and quiet. Because what transpired between them was not mutual. Boundaries were breached and force was used. Fans are unsure on what to think about first. The accusation of HIV, the anger behind it, or the way the blame changes so quickly it's like witnessing a break. Blogs refer to it as a breakdown. Advocates refer to it as anguish overflowing. It is criticized for being careless. One thing is universally acknowledged. This isn't merely rumors. This seems to be a time when feelings take precedence over caution. And the consequences haven't even started yet. The response doesn't happen all at once, creating from a single syllable that was never intended to be permanent. It spreads in layers. What fans start to piece together is a moment rather than a confession. According to circulating sources, pressure, shame, and tiredness. The days preceding that were already stressful. Tamar has been in the center of discussions that she didn't initiate. Health-related rumors, conjecture about her personal life, and presumptions presented as fact. And regardless of how long she stayed silent, the noise increased rather than decreased. Friends were the first to notice the change. No one responded to the messages. There were fewer phone calls. People were accustomed to her kind of humor. Voice was weaker, strained, and nearly brittle. The breaking point, according to many close to her, wasn't a single. The pileup was the cause. Blog entries that reiterate the identical phrases. Her name becomes a diagnosis in comment sections. Her body was being debated by strangers as if it were public property. The idea that this story had a source, that someone had unlocked a door that could not be shut online, hovered over everything. Many refer to Funky not because of his medical claims, but rather because of his prior Tamar and Mendeecees. Remarks produced a framework that anyone could use for anything. Fans claim that once the subject of an affair came up, moral conclusions, character assessments, and health rumors, all of a sudden Tamar wasn't only being spoken about. They were dissecting her. What followed, according to her supporters, wasn't strategy. It was overload. They claim that Tamar did not make an announcement when she allegedly said, "Yes, I'm HIV positive." It was giving up. There was a moment when she stopped resisting the labels that were thrust upon her and angrily echoed them back, practically challenging the internet to see how cruel it sounded. Others understand it differently, in a different way. Such words, according to critics, don't exist in a vacuum. That expressing them, even on an emotional level, invites unavoidable repercussions. However, even among detractors of the environment,